Okay, do we have any question or comment or experience? What is your experience when you do the meditation?
Actually, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I was just talking about it with my friend. When I do the meditation, my mind goes into like a trance, but then once I'm in it, I really quickly snap myself out of it. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to stay in that. I'm thinking that I'm supposed to stay in it, but I'm coming back to being present in the moment. So which one is it?
The mindfulness meditation is to snap yourself out of it.
Okay.
To get into a trance state is concentration, and it can be useful. Especially, there are two kinds of trance, and by trance I want to make a clear distinction that you live your life in trance, and what we're trying to do is break you out of it. We're not trying to give you a meditation system where you get into a trance. Right? But trances are of two kinds. One is called fake and one is called samadhi. Samadhi means concentration. So the real concentration, samadhi, is when you focus your mind onto a particular object or theme, and you don't allow the mind to wander off. You fill your entire being with that thing. Your entire feeling of yourself, your feeling of time, everything can disappear, and that object becomes very bright and very strong. For example, you can use a visualization of light. A lot of my meditation, I use light. And your mind can become very bright and very light and very crystal clear and very, very happy. When you concentrate on something, your mind will become happy. You probably don't believe that, but because last time you were told to concentrate on something is probably when you were doing exams and you weren't very happy. But exams, that's concentrating on a activity which is constantly changing and constantly moving. In meditation, concentration or samadhi is a different thing. It means you're concentrating on something that is stationary, not on something that's moving. A kid playing a computer game is highly concentrated, but they're not doing anything useful. They're in a trance because they're entranced by the thing that they're doing, the computer game. So concentrating on something that is stationary will make your mind very, very bright and very, very happy if you can do it. Typical objects for concentration in this way would be your breathing, and you can absorb yourself into the breathing. Your whole being disappears and it's just breath. And even the breath becomes very still. You get called a nimitta, or image of the breath. So the mind can become extraordinarily still. And when it becomes still, it becomes very, very happy and very, very peaceful, but in an energetic way. And if you can concentrate your mind before you go to sleep, you'll wake up after about 2 hours and you'll be sated for sleep. And sometimes you think, oh, I can't sleep, it's stopping me sleeping, but then you stop. Actually, it's all right, I'm awake and I feel nice. So some of the other objects we use to concentrate on, for example, loving kindness. So we do have this loving kindness meditation where you focus and you try to arouse this feeling and you concentrate the mind on that. And again, that makes you very, very happy. Loving kindness, typically for loving kindness, which is universal and without, without conditions. So you're not like, I love you if you're nice, or if you're, I love Australians and New Zealanders, but, Germans not so much. Or unconditional loving kindness. Compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So these are 4 that we often use in Buddhism, and they're beautiful. They're called sobana states, which means beautiful. They're a beautiful state of mind to concentrate on. The fake concentration is when the mind gets into like a trance state because it loses awareness of itself. And usually it's kind of quiet, it's usually kind of calm, but you're not quite sure if you're awake or not. And it kind of, the mind just bobs along. Your sensation of time will change. So either you're in this meditation for 5 minutes and it feels like an hour, or you can be in it for an hour and it feels like 5 minutes. And then suddenly when you wake up and you bring your attention back, you're not quite sure, was I meditating or not meditating? Was I awake or was I asleep? And what's actually happening is, it is sleep, not deep sleep, it's like the REM sleep, that's going on without any self-awareness. So that kind of concentration is called fake concentration, and it's considered to be a blind alley. However, it means that you're getting fairly good at meditation, because it means that you're fairly comfortable in the posture, that your body isn't giving you too much trouble. It means that you're fairly calm in the mind, you can kind of relax and put things down in the mind. So at that point you need to be starting to focus on waking up. If your mind's going like a weed whacker, then you need to focus on things that will calm you down. So the balance between calming down and rousing up energy is something that you have to find.
I have a question. Last Saturday I started a beginner's watercolour class, and we were being taught from basic principles, how to mix colour and how to grade from dark gradually down to light. And I found that focusing on that, I just completely lost sense of time. Would that qualify as an objective meditation?
Not really. That's what we would call flow. So you get into flow with something, and flow means you get thoroughly absorbed in your activity, so that you lose that self-awareness, your time seems to, conception of time starts to go. And human beings love to be absorbed in things. We don't like to be aware of ourselves. And this is why,
You were talking about that last week.
right. So for me it's Photoshop. When I turn on Photoshop and I start doing posters and videos and things, just like I'm gone for hours and hours and hours. It's kind of therapeutic. But no, it's not meditation. Yeah. What you can do, however, is with all performing arts, there is a Charlie Parker, jazz guy, put it nicely. He said, you have to learn everything there is to know about jazz. But to play, you have to forget it all. And it's the same with every profession. Dustin Hoffman said something similar about acting. I do some things with the Performing Arts Dance Centre in Bangkok, and they did say the same. You have to train your muscles, you have to learn the moves. But when you dance, you have to stop. So there is a point, if you can train yourself in the meditation, you can hold yourself in that bright, alert equipoise while you do your watercolours. And that will really produce. Art comes from stillness. So if you can hold your mind in that stillness, your creativity just starts to burst out, if you're a creative person. And then you wind up spending $9,000 on a craft. That's my creativity. I like building things and engineering. So if I get space and stillness, it just starts to pile out. I really had to learn to curb that tendency. It just cost me too much money.
Often in meditation, you might eventually fall asleep, like without your knowledge, you might fall asleep. Is it like a start a process in meditation, or is it because the mind is calming down, like you doze off? How is it?
So the question is about falling asleep, and it's a good question because it's reminding me that what I talk about is what meditation is, that state. But always forget to mention that 90% of the time you won't be in that mindful, bright, alert, fridge light on. And that's normal. It's a very fiendish process. It's tricky, it's difficult. To maintain that wakefulness and awareness is very, very hard. And even just a few glimpses of it, when the mind suddenly wakes up, stops, becomes very bright. Just a few glimpses of that is enough to drive an entire lifetime of practice. So expect that a lot of the time your mind is going to just be sleeping. You're going to fall into one of two ways. Either you fall into drowsiness, sleepiness, and non-awareness, or you fall into overactivity, over-thinking, overworking in the mind. And to get that balance in the middle, it's very, very difficult. So expect most of your time to be like that. That's why I say 20 minutes every day on the seat, and don't worry too much about how your state of mind is. Bit by bit, you are starting that observation process. Did anybody ever read the books Thomas Covenant, The Unbeliever? No. Well, I'm not going to tell you about that then.
Well, you may as well, because if we knew about it, there'd be no point.
Well, then I have to tell you about the books and what he thought and his... Okay. Any other question? Go ahead.
How important is it to have silence?
How important is silence when you're doing the meditation?
I suppose what I'm asking is, I have trouble meditating unless there's some sort of structure, whether that be within a group setting or being led by some audio type guide. I find it difficult, very difficult.
So the question is about silence, and there are two difficulties around silence. Some people don't like it, and they need to have some kind of guide to help them along. And other people can't get silence, and it drives them crazy. So these two sides that one can fall into. If you like the guided meditations, there are millions of them, so do a guided meditation. But like with all things, it's not good to just follow that thing that you like. It's also good to practice the things that you don't like. For me, I have the right to just stay in my temple, and I like it. And going out and talking with people, especially public speaking, I'm all right now, but for the first few years, it was really nerve-wracking. Evolution has taught us that when there's 50 pairs of eyes looking at you, you want to get ready to run or fight. Right? Nature. So, it's difficult, but I was conscious that it's good to move yourself into situations where you might not be so comfortable. So if you need that, then use guided meditations is good. But be careful to train yourself also with silence. Guided meditations that are spoken are useful, but I wouldn't do music or white noise meditations, because that's occupying that part of your mind that the meditation is trying to get you to look at. So really you need to step outside your comfort zone a little bit and start being willing to look at those states of mind rather than avoiding them or soothing them with some nice sounds of the ocean and things like that. A bigger problem for most people is finding silence, and they feel that they can't meditate unless they have absolute silence. and then the clock driving you nuts. Noise, the refrigerator suddenly sounds very loud, and the people around you suddenly start sounding loud. Again, get used to it. Outside my window in the temple is 2,500 schoolgirls. So meditating with silence is not something that I get much experience with. But you know you can do it. And you know, you train yourself, you feel the mind going out. Oh, these kids, I want to go and beat them up. It's not the kids actually, it's the teachers that make the noise. They get on the loudspeakers and Year 5 didn't clean up their room yesterday, and then Year 6 isn't standing in a straight line, and your uniforms aren't looking very good, you need to do this, and oh, man, I just want to leave the kid alone. What's that Pink Floyd song? But you know, then on the school holidays and it's silent, I'm like, it's too sleepy, like, I need something to So you never will really find the ideal situation. What you want to do is train yourself to be wakeful with every situation, whether there's noise or there's not noise, whether there's traffic, whether there's school kids, whether you're in a bus station, whether you're in silence, whether you're in nature. For me, I'm fine with city noises. I stayed in Singapore in a place, and I don't think they really wanted me to be there, and they stuck me in the library, which was right on the road. And all these buses driving past, rattling the windows, and I think this was the way that they didn't want me to stay too long. But I was born in Birmingham, and I just love that noise of the buses rattling the windows. To me, that's just, it's just home. Put me out in nature with all these crickets and these cheeky birdie birds, and they just shut up. So, the trick is to be able to stop this process where your mind gets caught up with things all the time. Is to catch that process and return your attention, wake up, whatever the situation is outside.
Could you please explain how, when you were talking before about attachment, and could you please explain how that process of attachment works in the case where there's aversion in the mind? Like if the mind keeps being drawn towards pain, I mean, I find that happens a lot to me in meditation. If there's pain, I just notice my mind keeps being drawn back towards it, but it feels like an aversion rather than...
Well, that's actually the topic next week. Talk in detail about the exact process by which the mind gets caught up in things. And because in Buddhism, certainly, and in mindfulness practice, we say attachment causes suffering. And this isn't an obvious statement. People say, well, I'm attached to my house, my kids, my education, my job. In life, you're going to have attachments. But in meditation, attachment means a specific process. So next week, we're going to look at that very specific process. And especially how you are attached to things that hurt. If you're lucky and have the right parents, born in the right country, if you're born in Australia, you're all right. If you're born in England, you know, have this habit of whinging. Whinging palms, I know all those things. Then if you have created bad habits, you will be drawn into those things that hurt you, or those abusive or self-abusive or other abusive thought patterns and processes. We're very attached to our own suffering. And letting go of your suffering is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. So that's what I will be talking about more next week. Yeah. So it's the right question. Go ahead.
Lying down for meditation, if you hurt too much to sit up, like what's the necessity of
So
sitting
for
up?
lying down meditation, you need to train a sitting meditation first. And traditionally we do the meditation in 4 postures: sitting, standing, lying, sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. So you get used to maintaining this fridge light, this awareness, through all different postures. However, just for these 5 weeks, I'm really only talking about sitting meditation. The sitting is where we start to wake up, so we start to catch these states of mind. Then we can maintain them through other activities. For lying down, if you have developed a sitting practice, when you lie down, you can do the meditation. But don't do the meditation lying down instead of sitting up. So develop it sitting, and when you lie down and you go to bed, then you can meditate as you go to sleep. That's okay. If you're going to meditate lying down, because some people have very uncomfortable bodies for different reasons, you have to keep your arms up. So you lie on your back, but keep your arms up. If your arms come down, you're going to be falling asleep. So you keep your arms up. It's just one method to help. Anybody else? Can you do it? 20 minutes a day? Don't worry if it's right or wrong. Don't worry if your mind is good or bad. It's a lifelong process. And bit by bit, you start to wake up. You start to see yourself. So whether you're falling asleep or your mind is too busy, don't worry too much. Whether the body is comfortable or uncomfortable, don't worry too much. Whether the sound environment is conducive or not conducive. What's important is to take 20 minutes every day to stop and be with yourself. All people find this very difficult because since an early age, you've trained yourself to find something to do. Not having something to do is boredom. And we hate boredom. You know what you do when people commit crimes? Throw them in prison as punishment. But if you commit crimes in prison, how do they punish people who are already in prison? You put them in solitary confinement because there's nothing worse than boredom. So, people are used to always engaging the mind to do something. And that's the way you've trained yourself since you're very young. And it's a great shame. So here we're starting to reverse that process. Training yourself to sit and just be with yourself and just breathe. And above all, pay attention. Paying attention is what will change you.
What are those changes that we should notice?
I'm reluctant to say what changes you should notice because it's your path. And because I'm quite clear in my mind, when I came to meditation, I was very happy that I didn't have to believe things, expect things, change things. My job is to watch, to observe, to train this awareness, wakefulness. But the things that start to change are you start to get a disgust with unwholesome states of mind. And you start to get an appreciation for wholesome states of mind. In Buddhism, this is called samma vayama, or right effort. And I have a whole talk about this. But in short, you start to see certain states of mind that you continually engage in are destructive. to you or others that are not helpful, not useful. And when you see them because you're paying attention, you want to throw them off. So the Buddha described it this way: a young man or a woman who is fond of their appearance in the flush of youth and beauty. And if you were to take a dead and decaying corpse of a dog and drape it over their shoulders, what would that young man or young woman do with that dog? The answer is they would immediately try to cast it off. And they say exactly the same way. If you're paying attention and you see unwholesome states of mind come up, you start to quite naturally want to cast them off. So we were talking about attachment to suffering, which most of us are attached to our suffering. How do you change that? Don't be jealous, don't be angry, don't be greedy. People have been saying that your whole life, right? Has it made you less angry, less jealous, less greedy? When someone points their finger at you and tells you this is how you should be, you're like, how do you know how I should be? You're no better. So, having an external set of ideas and constructs and new concepts through which to see the world, it's not going to work very well. But when you stop and pay attention and you say, this is greed, it's just like I can't stop thinking about this thing, or it's just invading my peace, you naturally just want to drop it. There are other states of mind which, as I said earlier about concentration, of universal loving kindness that we practice in Buddhist practice. And for me, when I started meditation, I was just happy just not to be thinking. I was one who had extremely self-destructive thought patterns in my mind. Angry and resentful, bitterness and indignant. I can be very indignant. Shouldn't be like that. This kind of thinking just gets hold of my mind. So when I started meditating and I could just not think about all that stuff, I'm just so happy just to sit here and be with myself that I was ecstatic when I first started. So we do cultivate the opposite. I wasn't so keen on that. I didn't want to create loving kindness. You lot can look after yourself. I just don't want to be thinking about stuff anymore. And then some teachers come along and you have to have universal loving kindness for every being, even a blade of grass. I'm like, really? And then it took years and years that they do this, and they'd always lead these loving kindness meditation. I do wish all beings are okay, that's all right. And then, these things stay around with you and you're in that environment. And then one day, something just clicked into place. And my mind is very still and very peaceful. I'm like, I care about the loving kindness stuff. You look after yourself. I'm just nice. And then I thought to myself, what if everybody else felt nice? Then they wouldn't do bad stuff. And then I thought, well, I wish that everybody else feels perfectly happy. And then suddenly I got it, and I just had this blooming loving kindness, just sitting in my meditation, beaming it out over the whole world. It took me 16 years to get this, to figure out really, I just wasn't interested in that kind of meditation and that kind of stuff. And then I'm just suddenly sitting there, booming mindfulness meditation, loving kindness meditation for the whole world. And the Buddha said, mindfulness will give you insight, but loving kindness meditation will make you happy. And then I came out of it and said, I've really got this loving kindness, beaming it out everywhere. And I had to go somewhere. I got in a taxi, and the taxi driver, in Bangkok, you know, if the taxi driver doesn't know where it is that you've asked to go, he just takes you somewhere else instead. You're disturbing my loving kindness meditation here. So I can have this beautiful loving kindness meditation to all beings in the universe, so long as no one's talking to me. So that was my next step then, was after I'd found it in meditation by myself, the next step then is to slowly being able to bring it into your interactions with people around you. And when you can do that, it's quite amazing. I mean, I've seen teachers who have this just beaming, loving kindness. And you know, even like nasty dogs will come up to them and be nice to them because they're just beaming this loving kindness out. It has a huge effect on the people around you. It's interesting. When you have family gatherings and everyone's arguing, you just sit there and be mindful. It calms people down. Have you found this, right? It's really strange the way it works. So, those are some of the things you look out for. It's 8:44, so we're pretty much at the end of the session. We didn't sit together, which perhaps we should, right? Next week we should sit together. The dynamic of sitting with other people is different to the dynamic of sitting at home. Keep up your 20 minutes every day. Most important, whether you like it or not. Right? Don't just do it because you like it. Don't just do it while you like it. Do it while you have liking. Do it while you have disliking. Start to train yourself to step outside of that mind that is always being pushed and pulled by your thoughts and your concepts. So whether you like it or not, just sit and be and breathe for 20 minutes. You had the last question?
Yeah. Do you think we should have a timer for 20? Oh.
Should you have a timer? See how you go. Some people are good with timers, some people are not good with timers. See what you prefer. I have a timer, but I don't have an alarm on it. So I'll have the clock. If you have Android, it's called Huge Clock. Like that. So I have that. So I have a timer, and I set myself a minimum.
Sure.
My meditation timer is 99 minutes. So I do an hour and 39 minutes. And then the alarm will go.
Bhante, I've got a bit of a love-hate thing with Goenka Vipassana.
Okay.
I've been doing it for years, and like I'm on the love train at the moment again. And so I sit in the evenings and the mornings, but like I fall asleep in the evening all the time. So I just crawl back, like I crawl in the bed and go to sleep. Do you reckon I should just sit through that?
Goenka system that he's talking about is a very vigorous retreat system. You do 10-day retreats, and the system is you move the attention, sweep the attention from the top of the head through the physical sensations down to the feet and then back up, and you do this body sweeping meditation. If you haven't done a Goenka retreat and you would like to do back-breaking, rigorous, they will make you meditate into a depth and degree that you wouldn't have thought possible. The structure is fabulous. I think most meditators have done a Goenka retreat. You might not want to go back again. I didn't. But I don't know of people that regretted doing it. So you may go on to do other forms of meditation, but you won't regret doing a 10-day Goenka system. I find the system of body sweeping, to me, is just too active. And there's enough people telling me in this world to do stuff that I want to stop doing stuff when I meditate. So I like to just stop and be. But the question if you've done your morning meditation earlier, so you've done your minimum of 20 minutes a day, and if you're meditating late at night just before you go to bed, it's a great thing. Stop the meditation and go to sleep, because you'll have a nice sleep. So, but make sure you've done some of your sitting too. So don't replace your sitting by lying down and sleeping. Okay, that's good. Do keep up. Meditate with the meditation. There's tons of YouTube and Dharma talks and other things out there. Different teachers have different styles and approaches which are useful. Just so long as you're in it every day, you're doing some kind of sitting, disengaging the mind from these processes that go on.